Hi, this is Glenn with Crimson Lotus Tea. This is our fun new interview format that we are trying out. Hoping it's going to work. We are having tea with Jake Knapp. Jake is a
Howdy, howdy.
local tea fan and artist, local to the Pacific Northwest. And Jake, you can tell us a bit about yourself while I get some stuff started on this
Yeah,
side.
yeah. I'm primarily a photographer, but I've always dabbled in art kind of stuff, and so ranging from like charcoal portraits to more recently doing digital stuff. So messing around with webcam and doing or Wacom tablet, doing digital art, and so I've done a couple of those in the last couple of years, and I don't. I kind of sporadically do art. It's not something I do all the time, so it's just kind of when I feel inspired, then I tend to have fun doing it at that point in time.
So you got a teapot you're gonna be brewing today. You want to show everybody?
Yeah, I just got a little Ishing. I'm gonna rock this little guy, a little like 120 mil.
Nice. I've got a Genshui, this guy right here.
Yeah,
It's about
nice.
about the
Similar,
same.
yeah.
I use this one for Young Sheng. So we're going to be drinking a tea that Jake did the art for. It's the wrapper for Moon Princess. Jake's actually done three wrappers for us now. He started off doing a Danger Zone with the skull and the snake, and then Fall into the Danger Zone, which is the exact same thing, but with a little bit of a fall, darker theme. And then this one here was Moon Princess. And I think we probably started on this. Man, I probably messaged you about like January or something. Probably, I think it was.
A while back, yeah.
It was a while ago, and I think you actually said you weren't in like an art mood at the moment. You had to wait for something to
Yeah,
wait for it to
right.
strike you. How does
Yeah.
what does it mean when something strikes you? How does that work for you as an artist?
Yeah, I'm the kind of person where it's like I'm either like totally on or I'm totally off when it comes to the art, and I'm either super inspired and I sit down and I can bust out like 10 hours of work, or I'm just not feeling it at all and I'm just struggling. So
Yeah.
like when I'm in the zone, I'm able to work pretty quickly, and but it's just getting that inspiration and that drive, and the whole COVID thing obviously put a little bit of a damper on that. So it was like I was kind of stuck in quicksand trying to get motivated and trying to get inspired. So it took,
I
it
think
took a little longer this time around, but yeah,
I think the COVID thing kind of put a big bump in everybody's everything, creativity and all sorts of stuff. But apparently you got the creativity thing back because I think the design is super awesome, and I think we've had a lot of good positive feedback on it so far.
yeah, thank you.
So we're actually drinking the same tea at the same time. So Jake has his cake there, or some of his cakes there. Do you have you've got a little aging set up there, a little Pomodoro or something
Yeah,
that
so
you
I
use?
got I got like a little wine. It's like a little wine humidor that I
Nice.
use, and it works pretty good. I just use that for my Shangpur, and then Shopur is I don't really have a full setup for that, but I have some storage area for that as well. But most of the majority of the pour cakes that I own are Shangpur, so it works out pretty well, and I have it kind of divided in little sections.
What are
Each
your
night.
thoughts on heat and humidity? Where do you try and keep that at?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been aging tea for maybe 5 or 6 years, something
Sure.
like that, and I want to say like heat wise, I'm probably upper 60s, maybe 70 tops, and then relative humidity maybe 65, somewhere around there.
Good.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
about where I keep mine too. I try to
yeah,
keep it between. I mean, it fluctuates, especially this time of year. I was just down there. I turned the humidifier back on this morning because it seemed like it was getting a little low.
yeah,
I like 65, 65. I think is pretty good, but it usually fluctuates between the 60 and 70 for both temperature and the humidity. But
sure.
um, you do what you can. The tea will be fine.
Airing on the a little bit of the dry storage so
Yeah.
that yeah, otherwise you can have problems potentially. Tombers is here's our this is our 18-year-old cat Tom.
Oh, hey
Tom
Tom,
Tom, and
what's going
he's
on?
popped up to say hey. So he doesn't come out too often. So when he does, I like to
Nice. You
I
wanted
like
to
to
see what was going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Little tea live stream.
He's my buddy, and I'm gonna grab I got my water actually over there. I've primarily been using this just as like a heater
Yeah,
because when I crank this thing full up, it gets kind of hot and it's kind of weird. So
yeah.
I usually heat up, I preheat, and then I throw it in here, and then I kind of keep my water warm that way.
So Jake's got quite the collection of teapots and teaware. Jake himself has spent a lot of time in China and Taiwan. And have you been to Yunnan yet?
I've not been to Yunnan yet.
Okay.
That's definitely on the list.
You're close. You've been close. But so you work. You actually work
Yep.
with tea potters and stuff in Yixing, and you've had some stuff some teapots custom made for yourself. You can tell people
Yeah.
about that if you want. It's pretty cool.
I got a chance to go last May. I went to China visiting my friend Li Guarong, who owns Tongshin Tea House. So he runs that out of Shenzhen, and then his family operates tea farms in the Wuyi Mountains. And so I met up with him. I had been friends with him for a couple years on Instagram, and met up with him and had a 2-week trip with him. So we did like a whole road trip up the coast, went up to Fujian, went up to Jiangsu, up to Yixing, which was super cool. We got to see some potters, a couple masters working up there making teapots, and yeah, it was neat. I wish I would have had a little more time, but we just spent a few days up in Yixing, saw the old dragon kilns, which is super cool. 600-year-old kilns.
I love dragon kilns. They're just
Love that stuff,
really
yeah.
impressive. The ones in Jinshui aren't that old, but they still have some really. I mean, there's one that's like less than 100 years old, and there's one in Huaning that's about 50 years old or something like that.
Okay.
Just such an impressive thing. If you guys don't know what a dragon kiln is an old method for making a lot of pottery, and not necessarily teaware, because I mean these things are really large and they're very difficult to control, and they're only fired maybe like once every couple months. I'm not sure about the ones in Yixing traditionally.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to fill them up.
For sure. The one in Yixing was actually used up until a few years ago. So it was like, I mean, it's Ming Dynasty used up
Yeah.
600 years up until like the last 3 years, I think. And they just charged like a per piece price. It was like,
Okay.
maybe 15, 20 bucks
Okay.
per pot or something like that to fire it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So the reason why dragon kilns are called dragon kilns is because they're built vertically up the side of a mountain, because like they build the fire in the bottom and they burn it as it goes up, and like heat rises, and so like everything that's in here, and I mean they can be like 100 meters long or more, and they actually look like the spine of a dragon like going up the side of a mountain. So you guys Google dragon kiln if you can. They're just an incredibly impressive piece of history.
Yeah, I took a photo of one when I first went to Wuishan in 2014. Kind of like a long shot of it. I have it, I think, maybe on my page, and you can kind of see it snakes, kind of like that. It looks like a spine of a dragon. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you did mention photography. If you guys haven't checked out Jake's Instagram, it's in the window right there at pu-erh. Jake is quite a proficient photographer, and has taken a lot of really amazing stuff. So it's fun to see. And you also do a videography. You've been working with floating leaves tea, right?
Yeah. Showen, and we've been kind of working on a long project. Hasn't come to fruition as of yet. It's been kind of a long, low budget, long time in the works project that we started actually 3 years ago, shooting a documentary on Dongding Mountain. So we did release like a little 10-minute short kind of version of that's on YouTube that people can watch. But we still are kind of slowly picking away at doing a longer piece on that too. So I'm gonna grab my water real quick here.
Yeah, steep some up. I've got steep number 1 going right now. I think I overleafed a little bit, but I generally kind of overleaf a lot. But I've got 10 grams, and this is definitely not 150 ml teapot. So, but I kind of like things a little bit stronger, anyways. If you guys have any questions for Jake, you can pop them into the chat. I'll take a look at it and kind of check it out and see.
All right.
We got a message from John. He says, "Hello, fellow filmmaker. He's still looking forward to the Floating Leaves documentary. So you got some fans out there waiting for you."
Nice. Yes. Yeah, it's kind of been a tricky spot because I can't. It was all shot in Mandarin, and then the farmers speak Taiwanese, which is even another level. And then there was also a group of people from Japan in the documentary also.
Wow.
So like, there's a lot that I can't do at this point with my, I'm not too proficient in Mandarin enough to sit down and just edit up the, smaller parts.
Yeah.
But basically, it's just kind of a wait and kind of,
Yeah.
Go slow right now. So
yeah, that'd be the same thing. I mean, with Lamo, and if we're doing like video and stuff like that, and she's got to help out with the Chinese side of things. Same problem with when we're at the tea mountains in Yunnan, because there's a large variety of native minorities. People don't realize like China has more than 40 different like ethnic minorities, and each one of them has like different religion and culture and language and practices, and almost all of the diversity is in Yunnan area. Every single mountain we go to can have like a completely different ethnicity that has lived there since the beginning of their time basically, and they all have different like local dialects. Most of them speak Mandarin and some of the like local Yunnan dialects. But then there's a lot where we have no idea what they're talking about. And even Lama, who's lived in Yunnan her entire life, we did find out. A long friend of Lamu's family traveled with us as kind of like a caretaker for the kids on the last trip, and she was really good at like a lot of the local dialects that we had like no idea at. And so it was great because she was actually just walking around, just talking to like everybody. And we learned like so much more about like how the villages actually operate, just because that was like her focus and her perspective, which was pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to do traveling around, and like you said, yeah, like in Taiwan, same sort of deal. If you don't speak Taiwanese, it'd be hard to even communicate with a farmer directly.
Yeah. Well, that's why you go with someone like Shu Wen, who can just take care of that.
Absolutely.
So this,
go with people who know the area is what it's all about.
Right. Exactly. So this tea is from Bangdong. This is an autumn tea. This is the first autumn tea that we started pressing. Autumn teas in general are less of an experience from what would be expected from a spring sheng pu'er, but this one really grabbed us, and it's from Bangdong, and it's an autumn tea. Bangdong is really close to Shigui. It's in the Linsang, Lansang area, so it's much further north than most of the other pu'er tea is grown. So you got Zhishongban on the south, and then you kind of move up the west side of Yunnan until you get to Bangdong. But this stuff here is good. It's really good. It's really potent for an autumn tea, which is a little harder to find. And I think we've pressed Moon Princess with a design that I put together 2 or 3 times, maybe 2016, 2017. Then maybe we skipped in 2018, I think.
No, we skipped 1 year.
Yeah, Llama was giving me the reminded me. Yeah, so we skipped 1 year, and then 2019, and so we released it this year, but the material's from 2019. So we've kind of found this material kind of like gets better after about a year. So we've been releasing it like a year behind, kind of. So this material is 2019 autumn material, and and then Jake and I started working on the artwork this spring, I proposed the idea to Jake. I really like the idea, the history and the story of the Moon Princess in Chinese history. It's kind of a fascinating story. If you haven't seen, what's the name of the movie, the movie on Netflix right now? If you haven't seen Over the Moon on Netflix, guys, it's pretty cool, and it's basically like a really fun, new, modern, animated version of the story that this cake portrays. Have you seen it, Jake? Did you watch Over the Moon?
I actually have not watched it yet. It's on my list.
Okay,
yeah,
it's on his list, Lemo. He hasn't watched it yet. So I told Jake, I trust Jake's artistic everything. And so I was just like, all right, so Moon Princess, that's the name. You know the story. You can literally do whatever you want. It just has to it has to have a rabbit on there, of course. I think I said.
Right.
And some lotuses.
Definitely a different direction than the danger zone.
Entirely different. Yeah.
Decided to do the whole in a very light and whimsical sort of look, as opposed to kind of a different feel from the danger zone, which is bold and danger zones. And this is a different tea, and which is also nice. I like when the tea and the art kind of work together to tell a story. Let's see. Hey, Andrew Goodman, the happy tea man. He's on. Hey, Andrew Goodman. Hey, Andrew.
Jake says hi too. Look at this. It's like the old Northwest Tea Crew is back together virtually online. Ty says, I was wondering, Jake, if your kettle is a clay kettle, and if so, how do you find it changes the taste of tea compared to other types of kettles?
Yes, this kettle is from Anta Pottery in Taiwan. They've been making kettles since the 70s. I bought this one actually through Taiwan sourcing, but we actually found this when we were traveling as well. It's a great kettle. It's a hybrid mixture of, I think, 3 clays. similar to pu-erh, if you've ever heard of that. And then it just kind of softens the water. I really like it. It's not too big. It's probably like 800, 900 mil. And yeah, beautiful little kettle.
Roxanne says that she adores using that kettle. So you guys have the same kettle, Roxanne? You've got that one?
Showen uses the same one now too. A few other people I know have the same one. It's great.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. You can. It's tea-ware is this amazing rabbit hole, as I'm sure a lot of you already know. It's a lot of fun to just dive in. There's so much fun stuff that you can.
The first time I ever went to China, we went to an area called Fangsun, which is like this big tea district area. So it's like, tea shop after tea shop on one side, and then the other side of the street is like just a mall, and it's just like 3 stories of nothing but teaware.
Roxanne, sorry, go ahead.
Just blew my mind, like walking through there the first time, going like, this is like an entire mall worth of nothing but teaware.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically like Costco, but for just teaware, like floor to ceiling. It's
what do you want? And how much money do you want to spend? Yeah,
exactly. Because they've got different rooms. You've got like these rooms and this room, and they got the room in the back where everything's behind glass. And there's people like follow you. Like, maybe not in Taiwan, but we go to Yunnan. It's like people are always like following us every single where we go.
Yeah,
like in the store, like standing like right next to you.
Yeah, for sure. It was similar when this last year when I was in Jingdezhen. We went to Jingdezhen, and it was like that too. It was like, you have your entry level, like, $20, $30 guy ones, and up to like, $1,000 whatever, handmade, hand painted, and everything. And you'd have people following you around the store. Oftentimes you couldn't even touch anything too.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're very serious about it. Roxanne says that Jake is a dangerous enabler. And Ro wants to see the patina on your Shunye Chin pot. If I pronounced that correctly.
Who does?
Roadway.
Oh yeah. Yes, I've had this for a couple months now. This is King purple clay, and it's getting a really nice patina. This clay is so soft and smooth.
That's a perfect spout.
I love it. This is definitely one of my favorites.
That's a perfect spout. Yeah. I really like that.
Very, very similar in clay to I have a Qing Dynasty ROC era teapot, and it's really similar in feel and function to that clay. So
nice.
Nothing but good stuff to say about that. Yeah,
Ultramegs says that it is true you can never have enough teaware. Yeah. And Ty says it's very interesting. Clay kettles are just very beautiful. I have not actually jumped into the clay or the iron kettle world, so I stick with this one right here. But I have plenty of places to put my teaware money.
Katsubins are another one of those things where if you want a good older style one, you're going to spend $500 to $1,000 easily.
Easily. I did have my eye on a handful of like really gorgeous silver kettles when we were in China, and it was just like the really cool ones are the ones where they actually form the entire pot from a single piece of silver, including the spout. So it's not like cut and like brazed on, so they can actually like form the spout by like hammering through and then shaping it all around there. And that's definitely the one I would totally want to get. And I found this really cool one that kind of had like a black patina on it, and the guy had carved this really cool like bat motif on the outside, and I wanted it really bad, but it was very expensive. Very, very expensive.
Yeah, right.
But I've got a nice little silver teapot that actually works quite nicely.
Yeah, I have one silver. Actually, right here, I have one silver teapot. It's the mountains and streams.
Nice.
But same one that Scott Wilson uses. In fact, it's from Yunnan Sourcing.
Gotcha.
And silver's a fun thing to experiment with too.
Yep.
You get that kind of has kind of like a, I don't know what right word is for it, but almost like it amplifies.
Amplification is the perfect way to do it. I mean, if you think of if you think of tea like a sort of like musical wave, and you just made it really peaky, just kind of like just takes those top notes and just kind of like stretches them up just a little bit higher.
Here's a good nice little test on the strength of this tea. I don't know if you guys saw that. I just did like a 30-second steep here, so this will be interesting. Yeah,
that's what happens. I get on stream and I just completely forget, like, am I brewing? And then it's like it's a lot. It's strong.
that's a testament to this tea right here. So I just steeped it super strong.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of like for an autumn tea, there's really not a ton of bitterness. It's really pretty mild.
No, this is a really nice little tea. We've been having fun with it for a couple years now. Yeah, somebody says they got a cup from us. Yeah, no, that's great. I really like silver cups. If you are on a budget, in my experience, you can get the exact same experience of silver that you would get from a silver teapot. You can get it from a cup for just a fraction of the price of a teapot. So if you're curious about experimenting with what silver can do, a silver cup is perfectly valid. Ultramags is drinking 2008 Daydream. You guys can also post in the chat what you guys are drinking, which would be kind of cool. We can kind of see what everyone's drinking. Because of Chinese shipping, I don't think a lot of people have actually gotten this tea yet. Maybe just now. If you actually have this tea in your possession right now, mention it in the comments, because I'd like to know who all has it.
Yeah, I think let's see. Yeah, I guess I've tried the first year you did this one was 2016. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, but then it would have been 2015 material. I think.
2015 material. Okay.
Yeah. So.
So I tried that one, and it'd be interesting to do a comparison. With your old same material, same garden.
Yeah, this guy's pretty consistent with his material. And it's funny because Bangdong's only within the last couple of years started to build a name for itself. It's always kind of lived in the shadow of Shigui, and Shigui's the bigger name in the industry. Oftentimes, actually, if you've had Shigui tea, there's a high possibility that it actually was from Bangdong, and they just kind of like called it Shigui because you get this, you start there and you work with some of these like producers and you talk to them, and they're like, it's Shigui, and then eventually they're like, well, it's actually Shigui area, and then you're like, okay, all right, so tea's from Bangdong.
Yiwu area.
Yeah, Yiwu area could be all of North Vietnam. It's kind of funny. Let's see. Somebody's drinking a 1995 Sheng in a mushroom-shaped cup. Courses Petrea, that's pretty cool. That's old. That's quarter of a century old now. That's amazing. It's amazing.
95, yeah, wow. There's probably a few people here on this chat that were born in 95.
Probably. Ziaxio said that he really wants to get an Japanese cast iron kettle. Yeah, they're super cool. And he says it's snowing. So Ziaxio's in Montana, so he might be. He's gonna bust out some black gold to.
There you go.
Combat the Montana winter weather.
I got my black gold busted up in this. I think I got this for you. It was.
I think so.
It was one of the Lao Chateau nuggets. Whatever.
Yeah, those little Genshui barrels. Those things are super handy. I've got one here. This is like a little bit bigger, like a little fatter one, and this has a Kunlu Xiaoqiamu loose. See, when you become like a tea vendor and you're actually producing stuff, all the stuff that isn't good enough to go on the site becomes yours. And so like maybe you can't see it, but they just like scratched the crap out of this one, pulling it out of the kiln, and I'm like, well, I can't put that on the site, so guess that joins our collection.
Some CLT seconds.
So you started a tea business yourself this year?
Yeah. So I kind of fought for a long time because I didn't really want to be in the tea business just because I know how much work it is.
It's a lot of work.
In joining a few different businesses on their sourcing trips and stuff, it's a lot of work. So, but my work last year had gotten slow in the wintertime, and my friend kept telling me you should open up a little shop and just resell my tea. And I was like, well, that's not a bad idea because if I don't sell it, I'm happy to keep drink it myself,
Yeah.
So he, again, my friend Li Huarong, who had me who hosted me when I was in China last May, and he's just a super generous guy. So he shipped me like 6 kilos of tea and didn't even I didn't even have to pay for it till I sold it basically. So I was like, I might as well try it, sell his tea. I'm a big fan. His Yansha is super, super good quality for the price.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm just going to carry like a small number, 6, 7 tea.
And so you're selling those online right now?
Yeah. So Nine Dragons tea. I'm just about sold out of last year's tea, just waiting to get a shipment of this year's tea, probably in the next couple weeks.
Nice, cool.
So yeah, kind of a nice little side side thing going on.
You guys can hop onto his site and check out what he's got. So 45 wants to know why my shipping is so long. I've ordered from other vendors like Mayleaf and received it within 1 week. I'm not sure where Mayleaf ships from. I think they primarily ship from London. I'm not sure if they ship direct from China. We ship direct from China for the majority of our inventory because that's where our tea is produced, and that's where our storage warehouse is. And I don't know, there's this big global pandemic which has been causing a great deal of stress for anyone doing anything international, and our shipping has been horrible all year long, basically since February. It has been incredibly difficult for people to get packages on time. I'm pleased that your package from another tea company made it there. I wish that ours were making it there, but it'll get there eventually, and if it doesn't, then we usually take care of the customers who've lost their packages this year. So you can send me a private message sometime with your order number and your tracking information. I can look it up on the back end and see how it's doing. But I do apologize that your package has not arrived yet, and I hope it gets there. Hope it gets there soon.
Yeah, I think EMS right now is probably, especially right now between like Thanksgiving and Christmas, if you order, it's going to be longer too, I think.
Yeah, even inside of the U.S., the U.S. is basically saying like it's 7 to 10 days, even for like priority stuff. And so if you, we do actually have an inventory available from Seattle. So if you actually are curious about getting an order in time for Christmas, we actually have a large amount of teas that we've been stocking up our Seattle inventory here, and so you can actually get stuff relatively quickly without having to wait for, there's. Basically what it comes down to is international shipping has been really amazing for the last 5 or 6 years because of this thing called the e-packet. The e-packet system is basically like an incredibly reduced rate that takes advantage of extra space on an airplane. If you've been on an airplane in the last 10 years and you know that they've got these crazy weight restrictions, and you can only take a carry-on that weighs like 10 pounds and it's got to fit in this slot, and your send through has to be this. What they're doing is they are saving space. They are saving space so that they can pack the rest of that plane full of packages going from the US to China and from China to the US. And when you're in a global pandemic, you don't have a crazy amount of tourist travel going back and forth between international countries, and so there's not enough planes to get these cheap packages on, so they pile up and they pile up and they pile up and they pile up, and so you got like a big, huge like port in Shanghai which has months of packages just sitting there waiting, and then when they actually get a big shipment set up over to like San Francisco or something, it's going to sit in the port of San Francisco and go through customs, and it's going to take a long time because now they are behind, and so all these delays just keep adding up. That's it's just how it works these days. All right, let's see, what do we got here in the chat? Will Thurston says, stuff from Black Friday, China to US can easily take 3 months. Probably, yes. If you ordered for Black Friday, you will probably get it in time for Valentine's Day. So I hope you have a good date ready for that, because you're probably going to be pretty excited to get the package that you haven't seen in a long time. And the thing is, it's the same thing for us. We've lost a bunch of packages that we actually, hey, look at that color right there.
Nice little color. I just wanted to show that off real quick.
Nice. That is golden. Yeah, we've lost a bunch of packages that we're sending to ourselves. It's just really tough. And by lost packages, I mean we've lost thousands of dollars worth of tea that we had shipped to ourselves to, kind of beat the COVID and have like a big inventory here, and it's gone. It's just lost. And so, and it's particularly stressful. I don't like our customers to have to wait. It pains me. And because I want people to be able to get the tea, and I don't want it to wait a long time. But it's just one of the sacrifices that got to make this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was a lot of tea companies I know got hit by that with that 519 order thing, where packages from as far back as March were getting just gone.
Yeah.
Just wow.
Corsis wants to know, why does a tea vendor not just bring all of their tea to the U.S. and ship only from the U.S.? Well, it's a really good question. The first of all is we don't only have U.S.-based customers. And while when e-packet is working right, it's actually amazing. It's like one to 2 weeks for international delivery nearly anywhere. It's just like it's awesome when it's actually working. And if I go to do that, right? If I take all of my tea product and I ship it all here, that costs a lot of money. and that's money that ends up going into the final cost of the product. And so, then you're double shipping it, right? So now you're shipping it here, and you're putting that cost of shipping onto the price of the tea, and then it comes here, and then I have to pay you have to pay on top of that shipping from here to there. And so it adds up, like adding like a whole bunch of extra cost. And if it works, and I can keep it in China, we can actually, and we literally do pass the savings onto you. If you notice, like the cakes that we sell from our Seattle inventory cost $1 or $2 more each, because we actually had to pay to ship them all here. So when it works, it works, and it's better for the end customer. You get cheaper tea, and you get it relatively quickly. It's just in a global pandemic, it doesn't entirely work. Will says, would increase prices due to the extra shipping trip, plus good tea storage in China is easier to come by. Yeah, it's if I had like an actual like tea warehouse and storage facility here in the Seattle area with the retail costs that they have here, I'd also have to be passing that cost on to the customer. It would be adding up a lot to the cost of the tea there as well. We have a fairly decently sized like warehouse and storage facility in Kunming, which is right there in the middle of the like the tea producing area, and everything's cheaper over there, and so we just try and make it just pass it on to you guys. Roxanne says it's beautiful color. Roxanne agrees. Can't expect fast shipping from anyone at the moment anyways. It's just a matter of common sense. Christopher Roberts says, I wonder if you'll all be finding warehouses full of these tea packages in 10 years or so. So there was one event that happened, the 519 event in Shanghai. Still no idea what happened with that, but hundreds and hundreds of our packages literally disappeared in Shanghai. And China Post, no idea what happened. So I imagine that there's either they were completely dumped, or there's some giant warehouse that somebody's going to find someday. That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah. At least you have wrappers on it. It won't be like the white whale or anything like that. It'll be like, okay.
Yeah, people will and Neife, right? So at least we've got our teas identified. So maybe some tea collector in the future someday will find some giant like warehouse, and those will be sold as collector items. Something kind of just a funny thought.
Cross your fingers.
Curtis wants to know how you deal with shipping. I assume you do USPS and local stuff?
Yeah, I only ship domestically. So there you go. I basically, Li Huarong is able to ship from China, and he occasionally uses DHL, which is more expensive, but it is a little faster. I mean, I've gotten packages DHL in 3 to 4 days from China.
Yeah.
But it's more expensive for sure.
So it's a lot more expensive.
So when people want to order outside of the U.S., I just tell them go to Lee's website, and then I just ship domestically. So I just use US.
That's smart. Yeah. That's a good way to do it. So you do U.S. based stuff, and he does the rest. Our
prices are exactly the same. It's just I can ship domestically within the U.S. cheaper. So it's maybe a better option. But outside of that, I would say yes.
Your teas don't need like specific storage, right? They're all like pre-sealed in Taiwan, like like vacuum packed and pressed and all that.
Yeah, Wuyi Mountains in China. Yeah, so it's all.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, either like little mini 8-gram pouches, or I typically get it in 250-gram tins, and then I get it loose and I repackage it.
Nice.
But yeah, it doesn't need aside from like keeping it airtight, dark, and a certain temperature. It's not the same as like pu'er or something that needs a little more.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages that we have with our Kunming pu'er tea storage, because it's natural, full natural storage. I don't have to moderate the temperature, and I don't have to moderate the humidity. If I was storing a lot of tea in the Pacific Northwest, I would definitely have to have a moderated storage. It just doesn't. People think it's humid in Seattle, but there's a balance between humidity and temperature and relative humidity, and there's a whole science that goes into that. But Seattle naturally, actually it would be kind of fun. I would actually like to have like a shed or a box that was outside, covered in mesh, so bugs and stuff couldn't get in. But I would love to actually just have one, especially like if you could actually have like a pu'er box, like in some like forest somewhere that was like hidden, you know, like up in the Cascade Mountains or something, like totally closed in like a box, but it was ventilated, and you could just leave it there and have like pure actual like natural storage in the Cascade Mountains, you know, and like leave it there for like 5 or 10 years. I think it'd be really fun to see what that would do. But
yeah, and instead of a hidden song, you could call that one Hidden Tongs.
Hidden Tongs, man, Jake with the dad jokes. You're leaving me behind. That's a good one. So speaking of Hidden Song, I don't know if anybody has been paying attention. Hidden Song is we are maybe almost down to our like last tone of that. So if somebody has any more guesses on the Hidden Song, they gotta come out with it. We'll probably have to maybe at the end of the year, maybe first thing in January we can release the name of the Hidden Song.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ro was talking about remembering somebody about storing shung in a cave. I think what's his face down in San Francisco? What's that the tea guy's name? He did the tea documentary, All in This Tea. His name escapes me. He's in Marin County, and he has like a giant tea cave. I'm not. I think it all depends on the cave and what the particulars of the cave are. Personally, I think cave stored might be a little too cool and a little too dry for my taste. I'd probably like something that's got just a little bit more flavor and humidity in it. Yeah. But Ziaxio is in chat here. Ziaxio is studying to getting his degree in mining sciences, and he knows all about caves and underground stuff. And he was telling me he was in one mine that was about a mile underground, and it was about like 90 degrees and pretty hot and humid down there. So maybe like mile down pu'er tea storage would be a thing.
Right. I lived in Jamaica when I was 18, and we went into these like bat caves that went down. And I remember they were pretty dank, and they had, there was frogs that were jumping around in there. Yeah. So definitely, it depends on the cave, I guess, but that would have been probably not too ideal.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you really don't want it to be. Be too humid, but it would be interesting the different types of caves and whether they, the aroma of the cave, added any mineral qualities to the stored tea. It could be interesting.
An underground tea layer.
Yeah, that's it. I just want an underground tea layer. One summer, I guess it was a winter, but it was the summer in Australia because it's flipped. I bought a motorcycle in Australia, and I was driving around. In the center of Australia is this town. It's so hot that they all live underground, so they all build caves like deep underground, and they're opal miners. And so like 100 years ago, they're like, it's super hot out here, but it's really cool down in our mines, and so they just started like building in their mines. And it's pretty entertaining because like the town just looks like boring and flat, but it's all like underneath, and these miners have dug themselves out of the sandstone, these just like gorgeous like mega mansions, and they're all underground. And you're not allowed to actually do anything in the town. They've stopped like further construction, but you're still allowed to mine. So it's this really funny thing is like if you have a kid and you need an extra room, you're not allowed to build an extra room for the kid. But if you do want to like dig for some opals that just happens to be in the shape of the room that you want to do for the kid, then you can do that. And so some of them have like these gorgeous mansions underground. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, some of those opals are worth some money.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. Ziaxio says a limestone cave would probably be pretty nice. Otherwise, like the mines tend to be a little bit too sulfury. Yeah. Well, sulfury might work on like the right type of shung, like a nice like smoky shung, kind of has like that like sulfury bite to it, anyways, or something about that. I don't know. Like, have you had like our Troublemaker, Jake? Have you had that?
I don't know that I have had Troublemaker.
I would describe Troublemaker as like kind of sulfury. Yeah, it's got a campfire, kind of got a campfire-ish, like burning hint to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tea and music. Love your tea, Glenn. Tea and music. Well, there's an account. If anybody should be able to figure out what the hidden song is, it would be an account like tea and music. Right. You better get on it.
Get on that.
Ty says, a bit off topic from storage, but would you recommend dedicating a geng shui pot to specifically one type of pu'er, having one shung and one shou pot? Probably. Although I know a lot of the potters in geng shui just use one pot for everything, they're totally fine with that. I think well, a lot of it will come down to just your personal experiences and your personal expectations and what you can tell. If you because the Genshui is a thicker, harder clay, a denser clay, it doesn't season as as quickly as like the pot that Jake is using right now, which would definitely need to be dedicated to a single type of tea experience. But yeah, I think at a minimum, one teapot for shung and one teapot for show is not a bad idea. I generally use this one here for young shung, and usually Maocha, but I used it Maocha specifically because it's just got like a really big open mouth on there. But I saw it up there, and I wanted to brew with it today, which is why I picked it. So, Jake, what are your thoughts on dedicating teapots for teas?
Yeah, I would. You got people that split it up in all kinds of different ways. There's people that have teapots for like one subcategory of an already subcategory type tea. So like, they'll have people that have like yancha pots for just for baijiguan and just for whatever else. I don't do that. I would probably split it up maybe between, young shung and super old or super funky. Like if you had real traditional storage or something that was real smoky, maybe splitting those two up. But yeah, just shung and show would be a good place to start for sure.
Yeah, I agree. What Jake said. Or I mean, as a teapot vendor myself, I mean the vendor's answer is yes. You need 12 teapots. You need more.
You need one for shung that's in that 1 to 6 year range, and then one that's in that middle range, and then an old range.
And this teapot's for like Western Yunnan, and this one's for Eastern Yunnan.
Right. You can get down the Lansong River.
Xiaxio has a good comment. He likes that silver teapots work fine for almost every kind of tea. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's actually a really valid point, because it's very easy to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, getting like 5 teapots if you have like 5 teas that you really want to specify to that. But you could also for $500 or even less get like one silver teapot, which is really high quality, that would actually work good for all of them. So it can go either way.
I recently went on a road trip, and we did a bunch of different states, and we were camping and moving around, and I knew I wanted to bring tea stuff, so I brought my silver pot. That was just my one go-to travel pot, and it works great for that. And it's silver is soft, so it can ding up and scratch, but it's not gonna shatter. If you drop it, it might dent on you, but it's not gonna.
Yeah. That's actually also a very valid point. Yes, a silver teapot will resist a fall, and most clay teapots will certainly not.
No, one technique I'd love to learn is the old method of repairing pots in pottery and clay was to use staples, and they would drill little holes on either side of the crack or the split, and put brass or silver staples in. I want to learn that technique. I think that'd be really cool as an alternative, like kintsugi or something like that.
Yeah, no, the staple thing is cool. I had some. Yeah, there's a couple guys. Well, there's a handful of guys in the U.S. now that do a lot of kintsugi stuff, and I had some of our stuff was broken, had something repaired by them, and I thought I had it around here, but I can't find it. I can't remember where it is. Yeah, it's nice. It's awesome. You can actually sometimes make stuff that looks even better by doing that. Torn Ham, what's going on? Torn Ham says, do you recommend I store pu'er leaf in Las Vegas? Just keep it sealed. Yeah, if it's dry, you're gonna have to do something to not let it die. Vegas is probably pretty dry, and it's probably even drier inside. If you haven't already, go to Amazon and pick up a couple cheap like $10 hygrometers, so that you actually know exactly what's going on in your storage area where you want to do it, and so then you'll know what you need to do. And if it's regularly like in the low 20s, which I imagine Vegas probably is, then you would definitely want to create some sort of a humidor type thing. Even something as simple as like a large like a Rubbermaid container, as long as it's odor free, can work great. And a lot of the pu'er tea like has residual humidity inside of it. Naturally, so that will last a while. But if you just leave it out in the dry, it can dry up like super quickly. Ty says the stapling technique looks really cool. Just be a bit worried over time of it leaking a small bit. All teapots leak a small bit anyways, right? Right, Jake? I mean, I've got tons of teapots that dribble here and there, and I'm fine with still using them.
1980s teapots, factory 1, factory 2. I mean, yeah, even I've had modern teapots that were made that have slightly loose lids. That's not really a criteria that I look for too much. As far as having like a super tight lid, I've never had that really be an issue.
I think they were talking about the staples. They were curious if the staples would be leaking over time.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, well, teapots leak anyway, so I'm just kind of okay with it. But
for sure, to get a teapot that's like watertight from staple would be a trick. But yeah, it can be done.
Rice Boy wants to know about recommended for storing pu'er tea in California. Same recommendation. Pick up some cheap little hygrometers on Amazon. Figure out what your ambient temperature and humidity is currently, and then figure out if you actually do need to modify it after that, because it's not really about what the weather is outside, it's about what the weather is like where you're actually storing your teas. And with like centralized air and centralized heat and stuff, things are much different than people actually think that they are, specifically in the area. And you can even get areas of your home which are kind of like, even like temperature or humidity dead zones if it's something over in a corner and central air blows in a different way and things like that. So there's a lot to consider, and if it's hard to answer that question unless I specifically know exactly what it is. And then it depends on if you want to push a hot or humid storage, and you're going to need something that's like above like 70. If it's much more below that, then a good baseline is just 65. So it depends on if you've got a home that's 65 all the time anyways. Great, you don't really have to do anything extra. What is Ziaxio is talking about? Crystal rock themed tone paper art. So Ziaxio wants some crystal rock themed tone paper art.
Nice.
I'll see what I can do. I'll put it on the list. I've got too many. Actually, we've got a couple designs I need to. We've got a couple teas that are ready to go that I have not come up with names or designs for yet. So I need to get on it.
Yes, as far as humidity goes, I mean, I have a Pu'er, and I'm just north of Seattle. I'm like an hour and a half north of Glen, and I think even in my Pu'er, if I don't do anything to it, it's this time of year, it's still only like 45% humidity.
Yeah.
So, and that's for an area that's relatively humid all year. I mean, it fluctuates, but I need to do something to it even with the Pu'er within my house.
Yeah, it's got to have a little bit extra, and we find that I've got a room in our home dedicated to pu'er storage, because that's where we ship from. I use like those commercial kitchen stainless steel grade, like shelving, or maybe it's probably not stainless steel, it's too expensive, but like the chrome line stuff you'd see like in an industrial kitchen, wire mesh shelving, and then we've got all of our teas like stored on those. And that room generally kind of self-regulates itself most of the summer and into the fall, but winter and spring, once the central heating gets turned on, even though I've actually disconnected that room from central heating, I've actually sealed up all the doors and stuff, it still will dramatically dry out in that room. And so I've got to get cold. So I've got a small heater, it keeps the room about the same temperature, and I've got a small, it's actually a fairly large humidifier, and I turn it on and off depending on when I need to. Rose says, after controlling the humidity for her shung storage, the tea tastes totally different, much more flavorful. Yeah, you will notice dramatic differences. And sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes I'll walk into like the tea room and it'll just smell amazing. And then other times it like doesn't. And I'm like, man, what happened? Like which tea went wrong? I got to figure it out. The other fun thing about like tea storage, if you're getting like large shipments and you're tracking, like your tea humidity and stuff, we can put in a couple new boxes of tea, and I can actually watch like the humidity in the room go down, because like those teas are now like starting to suck up that humidity, and it takes it a while before it kind of reaches an equilibrium again, which is kind of fun. Jake, how's the tea doing for you? It's super juicy for me right now.
It's great. It's brewing up really nice. It's going strong too. I've been hitting it. I've been keeping this. I keep this pretty much hot. I pretty much brew almost all my shung at boiling. Very rarely am I off boil by maybe a little bit with a younger shung, but it's brewing great. Good energy. I'm already starting to feel the heat.
I just got a private message here from Andrew Goodman, the happy tea man. I think he's got a picture of some kintsugi that he wants to share with us. No, he doesn't. But yes, the person who's done the kintsugi, he remembered the name for me. His name is Brendan. He's in Traverse City, Michigan. And what is his name on Instagram?
Whispering Pines.
Whispering Pines. There you go. Yeah, he's Whispering Pines. That's his tea company that he runs. But he made like a special like kintsugi wizard or something like that, or kintsugi magic. He made like some special separate account just for his like kintsugi stuff. And so he kind of does more of a modern kintsugi with some stronger epoxies. But then he'll do. I mean, he'll take like crushed turquoise and like a black teapot that's been broken with like a line of like crushed turquoise instead of like the gold and stuff with like the way those blues pop off in the black. There's a lot of really artistic alternatives that you can do these days that aren't just like the straight gold, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Somebody in the Discord chat says that they enjoy the Danger Zone wrapper. They think the Danger Zone wrapper is cool. So
thank you.
Yes, the Danger Zone wrapper is very cool, and I'm very, very happy with the way that one turned out. I still need to make like some Danger Zone hoodies and stuff like that. I mean, I've got my another Northwest artist here. We'll have to see if we can get him on an upcoming Between Two Teapots session. This is Alka Michael. I'm kind of like surrounding the Northwest. So he's north of you, about the same distance that you're north of me. So he's in Vancouver. You're in Bremerton.
Pu'er to the people, right?
Yeah, pu'er to the people, and Alka Michael, and he does cool stuff. Let's see if we got any other questions. So there's about 7 minutes left in the stream. I'm going to try and kind of cut these interview ones off at about an hour, so make it a little bit easier for people to watch them after the fact. You watch it at double speed, only takes half an hour. So if you guys have any extra questions, pop them into chat. Questions for me or questions for Jake, and we'll see what we got. Let's see. Zeoxia wants to make a tea storage box that looks like an old box of dynamite. You totally should. That would be awesome. And I was going to say that nobody would mess with it, but knowing your friends, they probably would go to that box first. Let's see. Ultramags wants to get some Rubbermaid to get your humidity up. Winter is hard to get above 50%. Yeah, if you're doing like outside, I mean in your home, like regular storage, yeah, people just don't know how drying their homes are. If you, they're saying like if you're comfortable in your environment, your pu'er tea will probably be comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, your pu'er tea probably is also not comfortable. So, if you notice that your skin is like really extra like drying and stuff, yeah, your pu'er tea is probably drying out as well. Roxanne says, I have all my cakes in my basement in a large wall-to-wall cupboard, have a humidifier in front of that room at all times. Relative humidity is maintained 65 in winter. It works well for me. Perfect. Yeah, it's all about what works well for your individual setup. Some people may need something different. But yeah, no, that sounds good. It's nice to it's also nice to experiment. I'm in here with the Discord chats on this computer right here. And if you guys don't know, discord.gg/t, amazing resource. Really, really awesome people in there. And they have whole groups dedicated in there to building humidifiers and humidors and pumidors and testing and experimenting with, okay, my tea tastes horrible. Like, what can I do to make it better? Like we'll put it at like this super high temperature and humidity for this while. And if, this one got mold, like what do I do to bring it back down? So you go in there and ask them your questions. They're super helpful. Torn Ham says, loves my tea and loves Jake's art. Awesome. Thanks, man. Zeoxio's home is about 3 to 5% humidity in the winter. Yeah, I imagine that. High altitude Montana winter probably is pretty dry. But, the interesting anecdotal thing is that the largest historical group of pu'er tea drinkers in history has been the Tibetans, and they don't do anything. They take all the tea and they stick it on a shelf, and they never worry about it. And they take it down and they drink it every morning. And they've been doing that for 1,000 years, and they do it at 15 to 20,000 feet in altitude, where it's always cold and it's always dry. And so you could say, arguably, the proper way to store pu'er tea, according to 1,000 years of history, is cold and dry. But sometimes there's other. There's others that
Yeah,
brew it different.
I think you're better off erring on the dry side than trying to add too much moisture and risking getting mold or something. I mean, I have a friend who's been aging tea for like 10 years and he doesn't do anything to it at all.
Yep.
And a lot of it doesn't really taste like it's aged much, but it's still, I mean, it's still good. So you still has it.
Ro wants to know about tips for avoiding mold buildup inside of a humidifier. Want to be extra careful. Well, yeah, just paying attention and being extra careful is the right thing to do. If you're staying safe, if you're around like 65% relative humidity, you're probably going to be fine. I mean, just like check the cakes out, like look at them, open them up, like every single time you want to do a session with them, open up another one and kind of like look at it and just see if there's any mold growing on there. And if there's not, you're fine. But you start pushing things a little bit higher. You start getting into like 75% relative humidity at 70, 75 degrees, you're getting really close to that wall. You get up any higher than that, up in the 80s, and it will mold.
Yeah.
Rice Boy says Discord.link isn't working. Says invite expired. I don't know. Discord.gg/t. I think that is it. Let's see. I'll ask. Is the link to get in here still discord.gg/t? There we go.
Yeah, and another good thing to do is like if you have a pu'er set up, what I like to do is every few months I'll take cakes out, I'll flip them around, move them around a little bit. You can kind of inspect them at that point and see what they're doing. Make sure they're getting decent airflow and you kind of inspect them frequently, I guess.
Yeah, Rice Boy, they said it should be Discord discord.gg/t. It should still work. I hope. If not, like message me an email or something after the fact, and or you could probably ask on a different forum or something like that, like our pu'er or RT or something. Like, hey, how do I get to the Discord? And somebody might know in there. Ultramag says still tastes good. I'm sure at any relative humidity, just different people's different tastes. Yeah, it's absolutely, and you'll find in China that a lot of it depends on where the tea vendor has invested the majority of their tea storage. You will find the people that live in Guangdong and have several billion kilos of pu'er tea stored in Guangzhou. They will swear that humid storage is the way to go. And everybody that has all their stuff stored in Kunming will swear that like dry storage is the way to go. And you get like these like battles. And the funny thing is like you'll get somebody who will release some like scientific article claiming that, like, oh, wet storage is like horribly, horribly bad. And then you find out that it was actually sponsored by like the tea markets in Kunming or something. It's just you see a lot of stuff going back and forth. So, and one of the things that takes a while and it's kind of hard to learn in the pu'er tea world is I don't really think that there is any absolute truth in pu'er. There is so much diversity of thought and experience and opinion that anybody who's coming out and says this is the 100% truth probably doesn't know what they're talking about.
I think that's the tea. I think that's the tea world in general. There's so many things that there are rarely absolutes in general because it's so subjective and it comes down to personal preference.
All right, Jake, it's 3:30. I think we're gonna knock this one out. This was a lot of fun. I think it actually worked. I think it worked pretty well. I enjoyed it, and
thank you.
Jake and I spent the other evening, about a half an hour the other evening, trying to get things all like pre-set up so that it would be like nice and seamless for everybody. So Jake, I thank you for being willing to be the guinea pig on our first like between two teapots interview thing, which I think it actually worked. I think it actually worked pretty well. So I will drink to that for sure.
Yeah.
Any last words? Final things that you want to say?
No, look at that. Still steep and strong. I mean, I don't know how many brews I got there, but you guys can watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, still, come on.
I'm gonna be steeping this one for a long time.
I'm feeling the energy now. I think I need a little food.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I made sure I ate like right before. That's that's my
good thing to do.
I'm a professional. So awesome, dude. Jake, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who tuned in on the chat. It's much appreciated, and we'll try and do something again later. Happy steeping.
Yeah, thank you, and have a good rest of your day, guys.
All right, see you guys. Bye.